So we're going to roll right into our final session for today, which is our panel and open mic discussion on digital inclusion. Before I invite the moderator and the panellists to come up, we have two very special scene setters for us who are going to tell us their experiences in this area before the panellists come up. The first of those is Emma Smythe. Emma is just here. She is an adult learner who's on a learning journey of her own. She left school feeling there wasn't a bright future ahead for her. Either owning a computer or having the internet were not part of her life as she knew it at that stage. She has a much bigger story than we have time for today, and her journey through the world of technology has only just begun. She is 23 years old. She's a mother and a graduate of Computers and Homes. So I know you'll give a very, very warm welcome to Emma Smythe.
Hello everyone, my name is Emma Charlotte Smythe. I have come here today to tell you a little bit about my life, the good, the bad, and what has brought me in front of you all today. Let's start with how I grew up. Although I don't clearly remember my childhood, I know we changed from house to house in my younger years, while at the same time having my father been in and out of prison for many different offences he committed. Things were hard for my mother, which made things hard for me and my brothers and sisters. The one place I loved to be was at school with my friends, but even this wasn't constant because I went to 3 different primary schools, one being in Lower Hutt, one Wainuiaru, and the last being Fernridge School. Fernridge School is a primary school in Masterton. I started at Fernridge School just after my 6th birthday. I made friends easily and bonded with one teacher in particular, Mrs. Cameron. I really loved and confided in this teacher, and she was always there for me no matter what. Even out of school time, she would pick me up from home and take me out on weekends. She made me feel really special at times when I was feeling alone and frustrated. It was almost like she knew exactly what I was going through in life. This one afternoon, I had been waiting to be picked up from school for God knows how long, but it felt like hours. Mrs. Cameron stayed and looked after me until my mum arrived. She had asked me if I wanted a blueberry muffin, which I had turned down, but she put it in my bag for me just in case I wanted it when I got home. And luckily she did, because when I arrived home, I found the power had been cut off and there was no food in the cupboards. Dad wasn't there, and Mum, although she didn't say it, she was really sad. It was cold out on the farm. I remember going into my bag, taking out the muffin and splitting it between me, Mum, and my brothers and sisters, and we forgot about the cold for a while and laughed hysterically about how funny it was that there were 6 of us sharing one blueberry muffin between us. Things like this happened often in my family, although to me I never thought anything of it. I thought that things like this happened to everybody. I thought my life was normal, but it wasn't. By watching things my family were doing was teaching me to deal with my problems by being violent and hurting others. I kept all my feelings inside and I didn't talk about my problems, which in the end of it all I was hurting myself. But there was nobody at home I felt I could talk to. Just before I started at intermediate, my baby sister was born, the last member of our family, taking it to a total of 6 kids in our household. Mum decided it was time we moved house. Next door was a family we knew from my first primary school. There was a mum and a dad in this family and 2 children who we got along with. Every day pretty much we would spend together, and me, who was just a little younger than my older sister and a little more shy, became a target for who we thought was our friend's dad. One weekend I went next door by myself. I climbed a fence and knocked on a door to see if the girls were home and allowed to play. At the time they weren't. The father said I was welcome to come inside and wait for them to arrive. I went inside and the father locked the door behind us. I felt a little uncomfortable but thought nothing of it. He sat me on the bed and gave me some lollies and then offered to read me a book, and I agreed. The books he pulled out were not at all appropriate, and I noticed this straight away and tried to leave. He wouldn't let me go. I remember screaming out for help, but nobody came. I went home so upset, but still didn't talk to anybody about what had happened to me that day. It wasn't until my brother mentioned to my mum that he had come over that day to get me and had heard me screaming for help. My mum asked me and I broke down, but I told her what had happened to me. That night, my dad went next door and severely beat this man and ended up doing more jail time. I had many meetings with SIFs about what had happened to me, but apparently it wasn't serious enough for them to have him locked up. So he was left free and my dad in jail again for what he had done to protect me. Everyone was angry, and I remember being yelled at so much by my father for going there alone. This had a very negative impact on me and my behaviour. Someone had hurt me, and no one could do anything that would assure me he wouldn't be able to do it again. Not long after the move, I started at intermediate. I started there with not a lot of trust for anyone, and on top of that, I felt like my new teacher was picking on me. My desk was moved to the front of the classroom because my behaviour was so bad. Not that my work wasn't always completed, just that I was always talking or doing what I shouldn't. I was finding myself always in detention, and because I was being so naughty at school, I was always in my bedroom at home. It was horrible. Although in my second year at intermediate, all of this changed. I still had a lot bottled up inside of me that I wanted to let out, but this year, I don't know why, I was able to contain all of that and get on with things without all the fuss. My teacher was easygoing and very easy to talk to. I didn't get one detention that year, and I passed intermediate with merits. Then the start at Makota College. This for me was the point where I believe everything went downhill. I was starting to experiment with drugs and alcohol, and because it had always been around me growing up, I found it very easy to get a hold of each substance. In the first month of college, I had been suspended twice, and on my second time being suspended, I stole cannabis from my family and took it to school once my suspension was over. When I arrived back at school, I waited till lunchtime when a group of friends and myself went to the backfield and smoked a joint. This was so wrong, and I knew it, but I didn't care about what anyone thought, and I was doing this because I wanted to, and because of what I chose to do that afternoon, I was expelled. So there I was. I had just turned 14, and I'd been kicked out of school with nothing to do. I was very upset, but felt like I had no one to talk to about how I felt. There was too much anger going around because of what I was doing, but nobody asked me why I was doing these things. I went on to try correspondence for a while, but that was hopeless. I was so bored. My friends weren't allowed to visit, and I was secluded from the rest of the world. There was no one to talk to, and definitely no one who cared about me, or so I thought. So eventually I gave up on everything, even myself, the whole world in general. At 16, I was kicked out of home because I was out of control. I was staying wherever I could, sometimes a house or a park or anywhere I had shelter. I was drinking a lot. Everyone had classed me as an alcoholic and didn't want to be around me because I was a bully. I was drinking and taking drugs. I was stealing off people that were trying to look out for me. And to make it worse, I didn't care who I was hurting. I didn't care that I was assaulting innocent people because I was drunk. And I had no problem punching a police officer if they tried to stop me. That was until I fell pregnant at 17. The amount of alcohol I had been drinking made it hard for me to notice the changes in my body. I thought I must have drunk so much the day before, and that's why I was so sick today. I also thought I drank so much, that's why I'm getting so fat. It wasn't until I was 22 weeks pregnant that I went and had the test and found out for certain that I was going to be a mum, but it was too late. I found myself depressed. For the first half of my pregnancy, I had been drinking and taking drugs, and I was so worried about my baby. It was the worst feeling anyone could have, knowing that anything was wrong with my baby, there would be nobody to blame but myself. I gave up everything I had been doing for my girl and found a place of my own to live and settle down to raise my family. By now, though, it was too late. My criminal record had spiralled out of control, and even though I was trying to do the right thing now, I felt that nobody would give me a break. I had ongoing court cases which dragged on forever because they were quite serious, and I was about to be a single teenage mum. On the 4th of March 2007, my baby girl Natalia was born. Mum started talking to me again, and I thought things were slowly getting better. Eventually I moved back home with Mum. Things went well for a while, but in the first year of Natalia's life, she was removed from my care through SIFs for 2 months, and I had been in prison twice. Nearly losing Natalia was what made me wake up to the world. I knew I had to get myself together, not only for me, but also for my daughter. I was never going to let anybody or anything hurt her again. But I had to prove myself, because I did make bad decisions in the past, but I certainly wasn't making them anymore. I went on to do a lot of counselling. I explained about my dealings with SIFs and police and everything else I'd been through. It was then that my counsellor told me I had long-term emotional depression. But I decided not to take the depression pill she had prescribed me, but instead to get out and do something good. After looking back on everything I'd been through and everything I'd done wrong, I was sure it could only get better from here. So as time went by, things did change. Natalia was enrolled at Kotiaroha Children's Centre, which gave me more time to look for work, as well as giving her room to grow and learn alongside other children. And things did get better for Natalia, which was great, but I wasn't having much luck anywhere. Nobody wanted to hire me because my criminal record, and no one would give me a chance to prove myself and that I had changed. Then one day when I was dropping Natalia at kindy, I was asked if I would like to join a parent educator program. By now Natalia was nearly 4 years old, which shows the amount of time I waited for something to come along. I agreed and was very excited to be able to learn from other teachers and parents at Kotiaroha. The parent educator program was amazing. It involved attending a 3-hour course 1 day a week and then another 3 hours paid work at the centre, working alongside my child as well as others. The course really helped me to build confidence as I was talking to several different parents as I was learning, and it also provided a little extra income which would help to get me through. While on the parent educator program, I was introduced to Lisa and Martha, who were running a Computers in Homes program also at Kotiaroha. They were very helpful and let me know what the course involved, and that if I was to complete the course, I would be given from Computers in Home my very own computer. This was great. I had never had a computer at home growing up, and the only time I had been able to use one was at course, so I decided to join the Computers in Homes program. So now every Wednesday morning I would do the parent educator program, and in the afternoon the Computers in Homes program, and then Thursday afternoons I would work teaching at Kotiaroha. The computer course was great and taught me a lot of new things. Everything was going great for me now, and after completing the Computers in Homes course we were invited to our graduation. To tell you all the truth, I was feeling quite nervous about the graduation ceremony, which was being held at Makota College, the college I'd been expelled from when I was just 14. But I went in with Mum and Natalia and my niece, who were so excited for me. When my name was called, I think my face was as red as a tomato. I stood up and walked to the front of the room, shook hands, had photos taken, and although I was a little nervous, I did actually feel amazing inside. It really was amazing that now, with the help of some great people, I had achieved something good, and from then on I was going to keep moving forward. Since graduating from Computers in Homes, I've been teaching my whole family about computers. My daughter thrives on a computer. She loves doing homework and playing many different learning games that the internet has to offer. What I have found out about Computers in Homes is they are not just there for the short term. Computers in Homes have been there through my study and have continued to help me and my family with all our computer needs. I have even received an iPad as a gift, which has been more than I could have asked for. It allows me to get all my work stories and study assignments done while Natalia does what she needs to do on the computer. After the Computers in Homes course, I was also offered a full-time teaching job at Kotiaroha, which I've been doing for the past 8 or 9 months. I also decided to study early childhood through the Open Polytechnic, which began on the 1st of July. In the future, I plan to continue to work and move forward in life, making the most of every opportunity that comes my way. And now, before I end, I'd like to thank everybody at Computers in Homes, Martha, Lisa, Wendell, Peter, Raywin, and everybody else that has helped me to turn my life around, because without you guys and the Computers in Homes program, I don't know where I would be. You gave me the chances that no one else would at a time when I'd almost given up. And because of what has been done for me and my family, I really do believe that there is a much brighter future for us all. So thank you all so much, and thank you everyone for letting me be here and listening to my story on computers and how computers in homes helped me to change my life for better. Thank you.
Well done, look at that. Well done.